All right, so I'm a big fan of people making money. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm not a fan of getting ripped off. When I first got this pool, I'd had them come and open it and close it. $500-$600 each time. They're here for 30 minutes, 3 guys. So did a lot of searching on YouTube. Hard to find a really decent video because everybody's got different setups, different filtration systems, different water features. But this is my video on closing the pool. And 3 years in a row now, 0 issues. Saved myself about $1,800. Not to mention opening it, which is easy. But I'll go through the steps and yeah, everything's good now. About to throw the cover on it and call it a season. So I'll say the biggest thing is make sure your water chemistry is balanced perfectly. I actually blew out the lines, got ready to close the pool, and then wound up getting sick, so I wasn't able to run all the chemicals in it and cover it. So within a week, we were loaded with algae. So I actually had to reopen it, get the chemicals in it, and you know, filter it for about 3 days straight, get it nice and perfect, because I want it to look like this when I open it up in the spring. So it's very important to make sure you have that balanced properly. Also, another thing, and then I'll get to the steps. I have what's called an aqua door. So we have a high water table here, and we got heavy rains one year, and I had water that got behind my liner because my water level was too low. So I don't actually drop the water level below the skimmers. I blow the lines out, catch the air with the cap, and then well, you'll see in the steps. But if you're wondering as to why the water levels above the returns, that's why. So that right there blocks off the skimmer basket. I keep the water level high, and you know, it depends. If we get a heavy rain, I'll come out here, and if the water level's right below the coping, I'll throw a sump pump in here and get some of the water out. But never had any issues since I got that aqua door. All right, closing the pool. First things first, shut the breaker off to the pool pump. Make sure you got an air compressor. Gonna relieve the pressure inside the filter. And this is how I just do it. Unplug this too, even though the breaker's already off. All right, so once you start relieving the air in there, what I like to do is then drain this of all water under there. Take that off with an adjustable wrench. Let the water pour out of that. So now there'll be no water in here at all. Just what's in the pipes. All right, so I loosen this. This is gonna go right back on once all the water is drained out, because you're gonna be filling this all with air to blow out the lines. So you have to make sure everything is nice and tight. So get rid of all that water. So I like to do the return jets first. So you're gonna close this back up. And you're gonna close the main drain and the skimmer drain off. So now when you put air through the system, it's gonna go through the heater. It's gonna come through here, come out the waterfall. I have a waterfall feature. And it's gonna go through the 3. And we'll see what happens after that. All right, I'm gonna remove this top here. And you're going to take this drain out, just drain plug out right here. Let all that water drain out. Actually, you could do both of them. And then we're gonna take this quick connect fitting for the air compressor with a 9/16 wrench. And that's gonna go onto this one. We're gonna put that cap back on here and we're gonna plug that into this one. All right, so close back up tight, quick neck fitting for the air. Main drain and skimmer drain are closed off. And now we're going to work on the return lines. All right, so this is the cap you're gonna use. I put Teflon tape on them and take this off. These were already loose. But basically, this piece would have stayed in there, and then you just use this piece to go in there with this and pop it out. But basically, this is a good tool to have because this is gonna go in here so you can get that extra grip on it when you're ready to cap it off. So I pop all 3 of mine out, and then I'm gonna run the air through. And then as the air is blowing through, I'm gonna go one at a time. All right, so now we're pressurized. I'm gonna go a little more on the air pressure. Give it a little bit. Oh, you don't need much. You'll hear some bubbling going on. That's because the tank is filling up with air. You're gonna start to see that air shooting through these jets. Takes a little bit because that whole tank has to, that whole filter has to fill up with air. There it goes. You can start to see it starting to push it through. Once you start to get a lot of bubbles, that's when you know there's just air in the system. So it's gonna be this one, and then it's gonna slowly go over to this one. This is gonna start pushing out air. And then that one. So as this is pushing out air, we're gonna take the cap and just cap it off. Take this, make sure it's nice and tight. Not too tight, but tight enough. Now we got air coming out over here. Same thing. Take the cap, lock it off. Doesn't matter if there's a little water in there, you're going to be putting antifreeze down there anyway. Alright. So we got that one capped off. See some bubbles coming. That's because it's not tight enough. Tighten it a little bit more. No more bubbles. Last one. Same thing. All right, so the one thing I do is check for bubbles. Everything is blocked off. So now the return drains are, not drains, I'm sorry, the returns are sealed. A little bit of water in there, it's fine because we're gonna put antifreeze in there. I'll show you. All right, so next we're gonna do the main drain. Those are these two. You're gonna fill that with air, and you're gonna do something called air locking. Here we go. This right here is called a gizmo. This is gonna thread in here. And we're gonna push the air out of here through this piece called a gizmo. We're gonna thread that in there. Now, this is the cap for it. That cap's gonna go on after the fact. So now, that's nice and tight. So we're gonna blow air through that. All right, here we go. So now I opened the main drain and we're gonna push air through that. Actually, I opened the wrong one. Nope, main drain. All right, so now, that's air pushing through the main drain. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna air lock it. So we let this do this for a couple of seconds. And then I'm gonna lock the drain off, and that's gonna trap the air inside of the pipes. All right. So what I did was, this was the main drain on the bottom. This was open. I was blowing air through. When I saw the bubbles, I then came while the air compressor was on, turned this off, trap the air inside here underneath the pool. So now we're gonna turn, this is the skimmer drain where we put the gizmo in. So let's see what happens here. I'm gonna do this. All right, turn that pump on. So now, come here, bud. So now this is gonna shoot all the water out and it won't allow the water to go back in. So we let that do that for a little bit. So what I like to do here is get all of this water out of here. I have something called an aqua door, which is so I don't have to lower my water level. You might have something different. All right, so we're gonna get the rest of the water out of here. It's gotta build up in there. There it goes. That's what we want to do. Pull all that water out. As much air in there as possible. Vacuum the rest of that water out and we fill this up with antifreeze. All right, so this is what you want to use. RV antifreeze. This isn't like antifreeze that goes in a car. This is not toxic. All right. So basically, you're just gonna pour this, however many it takes to fill up that line under the ground. Doesn't matter if it gets in the skimmer box. The skimmer box is probably the most important part of this pool. If this cracks or breaks, you have a major problem. So I tend to go overboard with the antifreeze in this. So I think it's, I mean, they say 1 gallon, I do 2. All right, so it took about 3. But like I said, these are cheap. $4 a gallon, whatever it is. Overdo it if you have to. So that's 4. Pour the rest in here. This is gonna fill up with water over the winter anyway. But there's gonna be so much in here that when the water mixes with it, it's not gonna be able to freeze. So here's the cap. Just push that on there nice and tight. And that's that. I might even throw another gallon in there because whatever, it's cheap. So that's that. Now I have a waterfall feature. So we're gonna blow that out real quick. All right, so now we can block this off now. So now I'm gonna run the air to clear out the waterfall feature. The returns are capped off in the pool. The main drain is airlocked. There's no water in here at all, except antifreeze. So now we're gonna turn this all the way on. All right, hit that, bud. I got it. I'm gonna push air through this. And once that water starts flowing out there, you just let it keep going until there's no more water. And then that'll be done, see? So let all that water get out of that pipe. Pretty cool, right? And then once that's done, you're just gonna hear air blowing through it. See all that water, if that water stayed in that pipe over the winter, that would have cracked all of, you know, the pipe, and then that would have ruined a lot of stuff. So you just keep letting this go until there's no more. You'll see a little dripping, but there's pretty much no more big amounts of water in there now, you know? Okay. So after that, everything for the pool is basically winterized. We're gonna add some antifreeze to the return lines. We'll do that next. All right, so here are your 3 returns, right? I'm probably using the wrong. Actually, let's release some air because there's still air in there. So here are your 3 returns. Now they're capped off in the pool. You'll have a little bit of air in there. Now next year, double check these when you turn everything on, because these tend to leak if you don't have them tight enough. All right, so that's it. Take that, and I just do even amount, because there is a little water left in there from when you were capping it off. So you don't have to fill them all the way up, just enough to get it to the portion that's underground. This is probably overkill also, because it's airlocked and there's very minimal amount of water in there, but better safe than sorry. All right. So this will mix with whatever little bit of water was left in there, and nothing's happening to it. So that's it. Close these back up, nice and tight. All right, so I have a heater here. Now I already ran the air through. All the air that was running through the pipe went through everything in here, came out this side and came right back. So technically there shouldn't be water in here, not much. This is self-draining. So all I do is just disconnect the inlet and the outlet, let it drain, and then I'll lightly put them on over the winter so no animals can get in there and make a home. So there you go. Self-drain, let this self-drain, there's nothing in there. You could blow the water out in here, but this is a flexible pipe that I have underground, so there's really not enough water in there that's gonna do any damage. Like I said, I'll let this drain for a couple hours and then I'll gently close it back up. All right, so disconnect. No need for any more air. That's it, buddy. Yeah. And what I'm gonna do this year, this always comes out. I always take this out and put this in the shed. We're gonna take the filters out of there, but I'm gonna leave this here set up exactly like this, except I'm gonna disconnect the chlorinator. So we just disconnect the grounds. And then we'll take the quick connection off for the air. And then this stays opened for the winter. Let that drain out. We don't want any mold. And that stays off too. And then that'll go away. So we'll just disconnect here and leave everything else hooked up.